Alright. Matthew McConaughey here to narrate some Pokemon battles. And maybe one day, if enough people want, then I'll do an entire video in that really good accent. Anyway, I made this humongous postseason advanced thread as a learning tool resource for anyone who would like to get into serious advance so they can learn themselves. It's not a copy-paste teams sort of thing. But it leaves all the information you could need in order to succeed. For the way I do, anyway. And there are other people who post their stuff too. So I will leave the link to this in the description. Anyway, I figured if I'm going to do this, then I can make the video that some have asked for, where I go over my SPL games. Now, I'm going to try and keep it professional because I really don't like to turn things into an ego fest where, I go over a tournament game I tried really hard in and I went, look at how fucking good I am for making this amazing prediction. So, nothing like that. And also, there are 9 games and some of them went on for a while, so it's not going to be the most in-depth thing, but I'm not going to skimp on the details either. Anyway, here we go. So, first game against Conflict, more known as a GSC player, but is also known for playing the first 5 generations at a high level. So, before we start, my team is Hariyama, because Hariyama's knockoff is really nice in sand and with spikes, and it's really nice because Magdoll teams that do really well against most Skarmory teams, they hate Hariyama. It single-handedly gives them so much trouble. So by using it along Skarm, then covered in most matchups. And there are some more standard Hariyama teams out there with Milotic. Sometimes they have defensive Zapdos, but they're a little slow for my taste against wall-breaking stuff like Heracross. So I generally like to have some offense on even my defensive teams, and that is why I have an offensive Zapdos. So let's get into it. Hariyama also has the boon of countering the best Pokemon in advance, Tyranitar. It's not a hard counter, but it will check it really well, as long as you don't switch it into multiple banned focus punches. Anyway, so that's exactly what Hariyama's supposed to do. It's supposed to get in and use knockoff. And Starmie, well, that denotes recover Starmie, and thus a defensive team, because you're not going to switch an offensive 3-attack spin Starmie into a knockoff. So Blissey is safe, and Thunder Wave, so definitely a bulky set. Now I make a move that was possibly on the hasty side, almost definitely on the hasty side actually. But I wanted to scare out a potential Skarmory switch because it was very likely that he had a Skarmory, and he knows that it's very unlikely I have a Magneton, and Skarmory would be Blissey would be a perfect place for Skarmory to switch in. So I tried to get some initiative with my Zapdos, but he T-Waved again. So that tells me he's not going to have Skarmory, almost surely. Otherwise, that T-Wave is just excessive. It's like he's got a really slow team that isn't immediately punishing, so he's just going to take it slow and scout it out. So with Starmie losing health in Sandstorm, then I can spike a lot easier with Skarmory, make something happen. So it's just all about getting Skarm in as much as possible and putting as much pressure on that Starmie as possible. Kind of like in GSC, when you Toxic Starmie and then make it take a ton of damage, so eventually it has to recover. Here, I decide I maybe get ahead of myself a little, because I'm expecting a Swampert or a Metagross or some kind of Tyranitar counter here. So I decided to focus punch it on the switch, because if this is a defensive Zapdos, which it almost surely is, then he's not going to want to stay in and just potentially die. But he does, and he T-Waves me, and so that worked out for him. I didn't expect him to risk it like that. And then he goes to Metagross, so what we see here is an example of how Starmie can kind of let your team down, because Metagross isn't as good a check to Tyranitar if your team is not A, really offensive and you only needed to do it once or twice, or B, with spikes. And I don't know, it's basically that Metagross really is a better Tyranitar check when your team is offensive. So I get that the Metagross here is supposed to give his team more offense, but look how vulnerable he is to Tyranitar, to where he has to risk Zapdos doing that right away. So, but it works out temporarily. So Zapdos. So yeah, Skarm is just getting in and spiking up, getting as many layers as possible. It's a defensive Metagross, we see from the low amount of Meteor Mash damage and the necessity of it on that team. So Starmie comes in. Would have preferred to see the last, but it's not something to complain about. So the nice thing about Zapdos is that even though it's paralyzed, since he's got such a fat team with Blissey, then offensive Zapdos is not really that useful for me. So getting it parried doesn't really matter. I mean, obviously I would prefer it to not be paralyzed so I could use it as a weapon against Metagross, but you know, it's not the end of the world. So I go to my Wish Blissey because Wish Blissey is incredible and keeps everyone healthy. And it's also nice to have a second recovery move so you don't run out of PP too quickly when taking hits and toxics and whatnot. So see, even here, that one didn't really matter too much. I just wanted to wish in case something like Metagross came in so Skarmory could heal up, but he's just intent on resting with Zapdos. So, yeah, his game plan is very clearly T-Wave with these 3 bulky T-Wavers and then take advantage of it with Tar and then another offensive Pokemon. So, in the game, I'm just focused on pressuring the Starmie because I don't think his last, no matter what it is, I mean, it's very likely a physical sweeper, so Aerodactyl or Mence, but no matter what it is, it's probably not going to be too great against my team. And right now, I'm just trying to press the advantage with Skarmory. And see, with this spike up and Starmie forced to recover, in the long run, it will lose. It will run out of recovers. That is the beauty of Hariyama. So, yeah, it's a very slow game. We're going to skip ahead a little because, spoiler alert, it goes on for a while. And yeah, just more spikes. I think I was trying to force the last in, see what I can get. So Tar comes in, Rock Slide, and I don't need to reveal Swampert yet because I have a perfectly good Hariyama. And if he's banded, which he's not from the damage, but if he's banded, then I find that out and know that I can pivot around him with my Protect guys. So yeah, Yama's in. He unfortunately lets in Starmie, but even though Starmie comes in, you know, lose the battle, win the war. It's going to spin and get rid of the spike, but it's also losing health, and it is going to have to heal. And Zapdos forces in Blissey, which means more spikes, and etc., etc. He doesn't seem to have T-Wave on this Blissey. So, see Starmie forced to recover there, still not seeing that last. Bring in Metagross, and that's a good one. So just more and more hazards. I mean, I know Starmie's going to spin him, and I actually kind of have to be careful with Spike's PP so I don't run out of it, which, believe it or not, can happen in longer games. You never really think about Spikes running out of PP, but yeah. So, but 3 layers here is fine. Definitely puts pressure on Starmie the next time it comes in because it has to recover, so as opposed to with 1 layer, then it can afford to go for spin. So here's a crucial turn. So I get ahead of myself here when I really didn't have to, because I Earthquake and I get countered, and there were a number of reasons why that was incredibly dumb. First of all, if Metagross comes in, I'm not threatened by it at all. I really shouldn't care. Plus, it's taking 99% with spikes. Rock Slide, fine. It's getting chipped. It's getting worn down. I'll win in the long run, especially because I can keep my T-Tar healthy with Wish Blissey. So I wanted to Earthquake it, but that was just an example of short-sightedness. Even Rock Slide would have been better. But the smart move was Focus Punch, because he cannot risk Blissey. Not only does it just hit everything the hardest in general, the safest, but risking Blissey when there's a Zapdos is just really, really, you know. And I didn't even consider the possibility of counter, which is dumb, because you should. It's very viable, especially because he was hiding his moves, not using Toxic on Blissey, so I should have considered that something might be up, and I could have afforded to play it safer, and I didn't, so that was just stupid of me. Of course, the game's not over by a long shot. Still definitely have my ways to win, since Tyranitar was really nice for putting pressure on him, but not necessary. But yeah, so Hariyama baited Starmie, and now Zapdos is going to try and make some stuff happen. Another move I could have considered was Whirlwind with Hariyama, just to drag the Blissey in and wear the Starmie down. But I thought Zapdos was safer because it forces Blissey in, and that's something I can control more than, oh no, I Whirlwinded out to Salamence, and now I got to switch out. So here we see Wish Blissey being amazing and getting Hariyama back up to full, because Hariyama does have rest, but you generally prefer not to give the opponent 2 free turns unless you can help it. If you can help it, rather. So this Spadef Zapdos Blissey Stall War is something from the net battle days, but it's, yeah, so I gotta be careful of this Metagross, mainly because I don't want to fight it with Swampert, because if that booms, then suddenly the Salamence gets a lot scarier. I know I have Blissey, but it's scary to switch into because it has a lot of opportunity, and basically I don't want to let him boom on this. I also can force him to waste a lot of Meteor Mashes on Skarm if he wants to go that route. As you can see, he's already half out, and I'm staying healthy because he's not doing much damage to me. So he's smart, and he conserves the Meteor Mashes, and I finally reveal Salamence. So he's not going to reveal what kind of Mence he is. If he's mixed, that's scary, but I have a bold Blissey, so I can probably dance around it. PP waste Fire Blast, maybe. Anyway, so he doesn't reveal that, so I'm thinking probably DD. And, yeah, so Starmie comes in, Zapdos, try and make something happen. Probably should have doubled here, or roared, which was kind of the point. I just felt at some point he might make one of those desperation moves that, like spinning on Roar, which would just be it felt really dumb to give up. He might also say, hey, what the hell, he might para, and he's already behind, so I just didn't want to give that to him, which Roar or a switch to Hariyama would, and because that was potentially the game right there, but I decided to play it safe. But since it was potentially the game right there, then I don't think it was a bad move to go for it. I just think it could have been considered, could go either way. Especially because Conflict does like to make his aggressive moves, like with that Zapdos versus Tyranitar move earlier. So, unfortunate Toxic miss, but yeah, not something game-changing most likely, just kind of annoying. Especially because Zapdos' pressure eats up PP really easily. So, more stalling, wish, look at Blissey go. He can wish and then he can attack while healing. It's such a great move. So, it's just trying to get as much pressure out of the 3 spikes as possible, but even if and probably when Starmie spins, then I can still get him back up. It's not a problem. The plan moves forward as usual. It's just it can definitely be annoying. So I'm not getting countered again, and I wanted to Whirlwind as Starmie came in. Knockoff on Blissey also would have been fantastic. I just wanted to Dragon Tar or something. But unfortunately, I get the not fun Whirlwind of him into Starmie. So I decide I'm just going to try and Whirlwind around. And I don't know. I think that was a good move if he recovered. Just because he's at such low health. Because now Skarmory can spike and Starmie's potentially pressured because Drill Peck is putting it really, really low. So unfortunately, Starmie's not switching into Skarmory here because Metagross forces Yama out. And, I mean, I could have stayed and taken the knockoff, but I felt I didn't have to. So now I'm going to have to take a Thunder Wave with this just because I need to pressure it somehow. And Drill Peck comes so close with Sand. I mean, you see there, it was at 40%, and then a 24% move almost KO'd it because it doesn't have leftovers. Hariyama is amazing. So, yeah, more of this. That was the same idea. He might just go for that recover. And Hariyama, just like Skarmory, is forcing Starmie to come in and waste PP. So, more knockoff, because I'm not getting countered with this again. And knockoff is as good as Brick Break on Blissey. So, more of the same, back to Skarm. And now get the spikes up. He's healthy, but not perfect, so skipping ahead a little. So, and now Yama, and I've got the spike up, and I can Whirlwind in. Of course, I'm probably going to have to wish to it again soon, but I managed to knock off the Metagross's lefties. I was just aiming for Starmie because it's the straight ahead move, and if it comes in, more recovers lost, more pressure, things like that. But Metagross comes in and loses lefties, so suddenly he's on a clock. Unfortunately, my Skarmory is at low health, so I decide, well, Zapdos is less useful, so I'm going to get a T-Wave on it, because I have T-Wave and Roar. And that would help a lot in pressuring it with everything, pretty much. And I can potentially even get a T-Bolt on it if he stays in. But he mashes full para, which was unlucky, and then he decides to blow it up. So I wasn't complaining about that at all. I would have, yeah, saved me a headache. I think he had to try and get the Skarmory, but that worked. Thankfully, full para didn't bite me in the ass. So he goes to Starmie. I was just looking for T-Tar, who could potentially put me on the back foot. And Starmie comes in fine. PP wasted. See, even recover. That's 25 to go. I like my long games. I just want to. That wish. I was getting ready to pass it to Yama on a Blissey Zapdos, or probably not Zapdos, but a Blissey or T-Tar switch. But he's gonna just stay in, heal up. So just gonna keep tossing it, keep bringing its PP down. And he's going to T-Wave here, and Seismic Toss there would have been nice, but now I got the... no, that was kind of a risky move. I just felt, alright, he can't really be staying in, because, this is just PP burn for nothing. Blissey at least can stall without falling behind, but Starmie on Blissey, that's definitely a losing scenario, so I didn't expect him to stay in. But even if he did stay in, he would have had to crit that Surf, and I get some crucial health back on Skarm, so it's all about, well, Wish Blissey putting in overtime because it's incredible. So, more stall, bringing it low. I can't crit him ever, but, and now the double switch to Skarm just for the lefties. The 6% adds up. That was really crucial. That's the way to do it in these long games. You gotta inch out every single edge you can think of. That could be the difference against DD Ments later. So Starmie is intent on staying in here and just burning recover PP. So another recover, another 6% on Skarm, and he's getting back close up to full again. So now I feel confident enough to stay in and go for spikes. Protecting while parried is always a nut-clenching feeling, but at this point I'm feeling I can waste his recovers with Drill Peck, so Skarmory alone. Since Spike's there instead of Drill Peck because it forces an extra Sand Turn on him because he is forced to spin or the spikes stay up. So now I'm going to keep Drill Pecking, see if I can make something happen, but he's getting low. So he is at 19 now, and now at 18, so I decide not to press my luck, back to Wish Blissey, and now I get to go back up to, get Hariyama back up to full, since while attacking the Starmie, then Skarmory was also gaining leftovers. So, same deal. Keep just knocking off, playing it safe. And now, that was a big turn because I felt he's falling behind. He can't keep giving me this whole Scar and Bliss thing because eventually he is going to lose. So he has to get in the Tyranitar and start making something happen. Otherwise, he's just going to get outstalled. And so I felt he was going to Tar there. He might even go to Blissey, but I thought Brick Break was a good move. Because even if he stays in and surfs, then, big deal. And every bit of chip counts and trying to get him to recover. And by attacking him with Yama, then I save a Seismic Toss or a Drill Peck on Skarm, and I don't have infinite PP on those. And by losing Tyranitar, then I actually need Blissey's PP to deal with Zapdos, unless I can knock it with Yama. But there, I thought Brick Break was a good move. So, and he ended up going to the Tar, and I get rid of a huge threat. So now it's Ments, and the initial switch is good old Dr. Manhattan, who manages to shrug off HP Flying like nothing, because it's very bulky. And now we see Toxic Swampert in action. It's refreshed, so I'm not afraid of his Toxic. I still think it's Ice Beam last, because he doesn't have another true counter to Salamence, so I think he really needs it there. So, yeah, he can stay in on Bliss and just... oh, I went for Protect, just to maybe get him on a seismic toss instead of wasting surf PP. So anyway, so now more stall stuff happens. I'm just keeping Blissey healthy, trying to bring him down. Probably should be more conservative with my PP here for sure. But I want to get Skarmin on a 9 seismic toss so I can spike safely. And then probably go back to the Comedian and get more Whirlwind knockoff action going, because Starmie's timer is ticking fast. He's almost at half of his recover PP. And see, Whirlwind here, just keep bringing him in. Rather than Brick Break, I wanted to force the Starmie back in for free lefties on Skarmory. And then he wants to surf there, or he wants to recover. Either way, it's fine. And then on a non-surf, back to Skarmory for even more HP, because I want to make sure that Salamence is not going to randomly screw me over. Salamence has to run from Blissey here, so I know I'm pretty safe to just soft boil back to full, because even if he DDs, I'm just going to Ice Beam at the next turn. And at this point, we are locked in a Stall War, but I'm feeling very safe about it, because I have a lot of options, unless he hits me with a very long Ice Beam freeze. So Whirlwind also can provoke Zapdos into staying in, and if I get a knockoff on that, that is so good, and I don't full para, thankfully, and so now he's on a timer, so now it's not all a question of Blissey's PP, because otherwise there's a very realistic chance it could stall me out. Even though he doesn't have infinite rest, I have to be very careful about it. So, yeah, just I can't also waste all my heal moves either, because I don't have infinite wishes or soft boileds. So, yeah, same thing. Now, back to Skarm, more lefties, just safe as possible here. And, yeah, Blissey also playing it safe, soft boiling, yada yada. Get the spikes, and don't dick around more. Going to Blissey is very safe, and I think I just went to Swampert so I didn't have to burn PP, and I didn't really have another move I felt safe in doing. So, yeah, he had showed hidden power, but I knew that if he uses it there, Zapdos dies, because I'd probably be in Torrent. Well, maybe not, but I think he would die. And I would still be fine against Mence because of Blissey and Skarmory. And there was just no way. It was one of those moves that's risky and probably not necessary, but it helped, because I didn't have to make a different move, as in going to Blissey and just wasting more PP. So going to Blissey was fine. I think surfing was also fine. Just to throw him off so he doesn't feel confident in predicting. I mean, it's not really a prediction battle at this point, but it's just to make him less confident in, oh, he always goes for the safe move. Which, you know, every advantage you can get in these kinds of games. So, oh, sorry, God damn it. I clicked last turn instead of next turn. But yeah, wish back up to Skarm and get him back up healthy. So, cool, protect. And Spike is still up, and I can just make him take more damage here, as opposed to switching around, because if I switch to Blissey, I don't really want to switch into anything else, so I do want to force him low before I go to Blissey, so I can switch around against the Zapdos, because if it's resting, I can switch, and yeah, so I'll take another layer of spikes. 2 layers generally isn't great, but fine. So Starmie comes in, and he's going to just get rid of the spikes for free, but it's fine because I can switch around just fine. And because he does not have infinite recovery options, then Swampert can Toxic and Surf and go nuts. So protecting on Zapdos and seeing it take sand damage is a great feeling. So more spikes. Yeah, we're just going to skip ahead because this Stall War is long. Yeah, just Whirlwind, force in Starmie, make it take more damage. Yada, yada, yada. See, there's this recover, since now I full pair actually, but stay in. He can't really threaten me, so I'm going to keep skipping ahead because this game is long. So, and Dragon and Salamence, not taking any risks. My Skarmory doesn't have Toxic, so it's not really a check, but it can phase it out. And yeah, I don't want to take Rock Slides if I can help it, but yeah, that Swampert switch was just a cheeky one. Could have definitely gone wrong, but felt pretty secure he wasn't going to be spamming HP Grass there, so that was, again, just mix it up, because I definitely could afford to, because Blissey Wish passes so easily, so the risk-reward wasn't perfect there, but it's one of those moves that I think is worth making once in a while. So I decided rest up the Yama just to, because I can afford it, and since I'm not really threatened by his guys being at full, and I decide, well, I also noticed that at this point I can't toxic the Salamence forever because he has other Pokemon and one of them has pressure. So it's not just a matter of toxic the Mence or lose because I still have Blissey, but it would be really, really nice if I could knock it off. And I was trying to Drill Peck there just to chip it a little, so Ice Beam would be a definite KO or there's less toxic stalling. He, unfortunately, full para, but decided no dicking around on the next Rock Slide. He thought that, well, he had to try to HP Fly the Pert on the switch just for some incremental damage that he could maybe take advantage of with a crit. But yeah, so here is another crucial turn. I decide, you know what, I could play it safe, but he has to crit on this turn. I guess I don't think it's... You can't play afraid of crits most of the time, because you know there are some geniuses out there who will go, oh well, you shouldn't have risked the crit, and sometimes it is getting greedy. But here I think the reward was big enough to where it was worth it, and because I think that's just the game. Everything except Blissey is knocked off, and it's so now I don't even have to toxic it. Now Skarmory actually counters it on its own. The payoff was huge. And maybe I could have tried to do it again later, but at some point I was gonna have to risk a crit, and you can't play afraid of 6% chances. So Starmie goes down in this exchange to Swampert, and I feel like he's running out of gas, so play it safe. And here Blissey is just going to heal itself, and then it's going to Wish, and it's going to pass it to Swampert, who still, even with the freeze, it's probably not enough. It needs to like not thaw out for a million turns. And then I'm going to go back to Blissey and Wish again and heal Hariyama, who has thick fat, so Ice Beam does absolutely nothing. Also nice for countering Fire Blasting and Mixtar. And yeah, I'm just going to get all 3 spikes, and now Blissey can't switch in, and yada yada. This game is pretty much concluded unless I screw up horribly, and even then, so no risks. Hariyama knocks off its 5th Pokemon. Hariyama knocked off 5 of Conflict 6 and killed the Tyranitar. So awesome feeling. So no risk. Skarmory is going to Drill Peck Mence down, and then yada yada, gets countered, dead, and it finishes the Blissey off with Brick Break. So Hariyama's awesome. So that game was really long. Luckily, the next game is not. Versus dekzeh. He is an advanced legend, one of the best players ever, but it's been a while since he was seriously competing. So my team is offense. You might not think it because it's got a Scar and Bliss, but I assure you it's very offensive. It's got 2 mixed pokes. Metagross is the defensive Pokemon that keeps up offensive pressure with Explosion. So this is what I mean by Metagross is a good tar check as long as your team isn't constantly on the defensive, and it's got great synergy with Salamence. Metamence is the best. So if I feel Tyranitar is trying to aim for Gross with an EQ because it has to, then I can switch in Mence and just completely reverse the momentum on it. And I've got Aerodactyl for security against Tar and just general cleanup, which works beautifully with the spikes and the mixed attackers and the explosion. So, and what's nice about Blissey is that it allows me to run an offensive team that's not terrified of special attackers like Moltres. So tar on tar, I'm not risking anything. I go to Skarm. He Earthquakes, so that tells me it's going to be physical. It's going to be either Band or DD, and he's running something that wants to go on the offensive, because if he's running a bulky 4-attack Tar, I don't think Earthquake is ever the move there, because you want that Tar defensively. So he's definitely trying to put me on the back foot. So I go back to Tar, and assuming that if there's a Magneton or something, then he's probably going to it. And I can get the advantage against things like that and Zapdos. So Fortress comes in, and I think, alright, if there's a Swampert, it's coming in right now, so it's time to HP Grass. And I get lucky by critting the Swampert. It's a max special attack Tyranitar. Neutral nature, but max special attack, so 288 stat. So it's going to hit really hard regardless. But that was lucky. Just hitting him with that HP Grass was insanely good. So he goes back to his Tar. I decide to play aggressive, because weakening his Tar is also good for my Aerodactyl and even Mence. And plus, the likelihood of him Earthquaking uselessly into Skarm is not that good. It's likelier he even tries to double switch to Fortress to try and regain some lost ground. Instead, he goes for a Rock Slide, and I get lucky again because it misses. And turns out it's a Bantar, so that would have done a ton. But he's very much on the back foot. I go for an Ice Beam just because it covers things like, Zapdos and Gengar. But Gengar's not really equipped to threaten Tyranitar very much. So I was just going to stay in and keep attacking. And now he knows that my Tar is in range of Starmie, so he's going to go to it. And here's where Blissey's great. Whereas an offensive team, a more offensive team would be like, oh great, now I have to switch around Starmie. So that great progress made by Tar is, it's still not necessarily doing a ton, but Blissey just doesn't take anything. So I double the Skarmory because he's not going to flail around. He's going to try to go to Fori. And I decided just see if I can get some spikes. I'm going to taunt Drill Peck to bring it down, because this Skarmory will beat Fortress in the long run, but he goes to Starmie on a taunt, which eventually he was going to do because he needed to force Skarmory out and then try to get Fori back in. He has to get Fori back in because he's so ridiculously behind, so I'm going to try to spike. But even if he stays in, I'm fine, because I don't care if he attacks me, because then I'll just go back to start Blissey as he spins and then take it from there. His core is so weakened that eventually I get the spike as he goes back to Fortress on the aggressive move, but I do what I should have done on the Fortress to begin with. I should have just taunted, then gone right to Tar, so it took me a bit to figure that out, because he clearly cannot switch into Tar. I go for a Fire Blast, and I get lucky again, but it's because Fire Blast crits. But at this point, it's the same thing. He goes back to Fori, but you know what? I don't even mind, because Tar is such a threat, and I can just keep going for switching it into Fori, because if he ever wants to make progress with spikes, then fine. And if he Earthquakes, it's not going to kill me, and I'll take advantage of that next time and go to my Salamence, who has pretty much the same set, except Dragon Claw over Ice Beam. So there's no way he's switching into that. And yeah. That was really fine. I missed Fire Blast, so it makes up for the crit. Yeah, Gengar going Kaboom is nice because it means I don't have to didn't have to risk Blissey on it and then get Kaboomed and then swept by Starmie. So Tar is really, really threatening and put in a lot of work. It was naive, not hasty, like some mixed Tar. As in, it was minus Spadef, not defense, so I was still going to take that Rock Slide with some health to spare. So Gengar still wouldn't have been very confident against me. And what's more, that's another reason I felt confident in staying in, because it's not like I was risking a speed tie against a max speed Adamant Tar. So, yeah. So, same thing going on. He reveals Celebi. He's using a team he used in SPL 7 finals and used a lot. It's one of his more reliable ones. So, Skarmory's my interim just to... Sorry, I skipped. Skarmory's my interim just to force in Fortress so I can just keep going back to the mixed guys. And at this point, Aerodactyl cleans up too. So, hopefully I'll just go there. I get Spike as he slow baton passes out with Celebi. And he goes to Tar, tries to get some damage. I go to Metagross, eat a big Focus Punch, but it's totally fine because I can just Earthquake and respond to whatever he switches into with my offensive guys. And I'll just he spikes instead of spinning, I'll just keep fire blasting, no reason not to. Starmie's down, even if he spins, whatever. But he doesn't. Hydro, I'll keep it safe by soft boiling. And now I decide to just go to Mence. Tar was fine, I just felt if he's got HP Bug, or which was unlikely, but Earthquake, more likely, then he'll go for it there to try and pick my Tar off now that I'm definitely in range. And I can't really respond to it, so Mence is also going nuts. And yeah, I decided to just play it safe, because if I boom Celebi, then Arrow EQ just wins, and that is what happens. So yeah, cool. So next, Passy G. He's a friend of mine, and he's a very good player. And I decided to run a team that's same idea as the team before. It's Scar and Bliss on offense, so you have Spikes in the good defensive core, and the offensive core this time is Zapdos and Breloom. So this is another long game. So the cool thing about these first four is that they make the opponent think, oh, it's some sort of offense team. And so Skarmory lead is not something you see too commonly, but some players like it, and he decides, alright, I'm going to scout for Mag by going to Swampert, and I go to Zapdos. So he reveals himself to also be running a bulky team, and Zapdos BP does what it does best. It gets in Breloom on the Blissey, and I get a Spore off. I Spore Pert, which isn't really useful, but I mean, I still spored something, took something out of commission. That can always be useful. I say it's not really useful because it's not something I directly abuse with something like DD Tar. Anyway, I go to, there's very, very likely to be a Gengar here, so I go to my Pursuit Tar, and I catch the Gengar. It's a Black Glasses Tar to make sure I kill Gengar as much as I can. And if he doesn't go to Gengar here, then that means next time I'm going to Focus Punch the hell out of something. So he decides Will-O-Wisp and Pursue, and he reveals Destiny Bond. So definitely something that enjoys dead Tar. Destiny Bond is just a good move on Gengar in general. So there, and now I reveal Skarmory, and it is fast with Taunt. And so that's really nice. And this is, Scarf can be kind of an offensive tool on its own. And as you see here, by denying the other Skarmory, and if I drag in Blissey, then I deny it healing. So here's another thing. A lot of offensive teams also don't like Super Rachi, but by pairing the offensive stuff with the Blissey, then Super Rachi's not a problem. So double the Skarmory to prevent that from happening. He's not going to want to stay in on the spikes, or on the taunt, so I spike on the switch even if he gets up a layer, BFD. And my Blissey here is not Wish, it is Counter with Thunder Wave. And I decide I need that third layer. I want to pressure as much as possible. I want to wear down that Blissey with Zapdos because it's mixed with Drill Peck. And I decide not to risk so Toxic, and by that I'm thinking, alright, he's definitely got a move to hurt Skarmory with, and he assumed I would switch out from it. So I decided not to stay in, and Fire Blast Blissey is actually kind of a problem. So I was considering Swampert there, but he over Metagross, but I decided I liked the offensive pressure more. But that does kind of mean, first of all, I don't like switching around Mixtar as much, since can Fire Blast rather freely, and you know, even though you don't see too much Fire Blast Blissey anymore, so I have to do some pivot action. And now back to Zapdos on the Skarmory switch. So now I can get some pressure going, and like an idiot, I Thunderbolt instead of keeping up the pressure, because he's not going to. The thing about Blissey with 3 spikes versus Zapdos, it's not ideal, but it's still like not dying, you know? It's very hard for it to just be overwhelmed just by T-Bolts alone, and I'm thinking he's assuming I have T-Wave last, so I can't roar him or anything, and Baton Pass would be bad, but I don't know, Thunderbolt was safe, and I get Breloom in. Now, here, the obvious move is to Focus Punch, but I did not do that because I figured he might not think I have it. And that I only can Focus Punch to kill Blissey. So, and I didn't want to have him finally take a risk since he's behind and just stay in and Fire Blast, because then I would really be in trouble. So I wanted to show him that I have Sky Uppercut. Now I make another. No, I don't make a dumb move. I thought I went to Skarmory. Yeah, I do that later. I go to Zapdos to keep up the pressure, and now I don't Baton Pass, and that time it was pretty dumb to do it. So, and now Baton Pass, Metagross, just in case he Fire Blast, because I can still take that, and Blissey would then be left at very low health because it'd be forced out, so that was a safer move. So, I am faster, luckily, and I don't have speed on it, so I just stay in an Earthquake. And that was probably dumb. I should have probably gone to Zapdos because, yeah, that was dumb. I shouldn't have stayed in like that. So now I make the dumb move of going to Skarmory instead of going to Zapdos. Trying to catch a Blissey double or something. Nah, that was dumb. Very dumb. And I use Earthquake instead of Mash because my set is Earthquake, Protect, Toxic, and Explosion because I want to slow down offensive Swampert. So I taunt, and I mean, it's fine that I'm beating it down like this, but I just give him health. So that was stupid of me. And now I Baton Pass on the Blissey with spikes down, so I'm finally going to force it out at half, and then Drill Peck will be able to take it out. So made it harder on myself than I had to, and now I'm going to unleash Focus Punch in case he thinks I'm a Swords Dance Sky Uppercut Mach Punch set. So I'm going to unload on Skarm and do a ton of damage, but he's Sky Uppercut's a roll. I didn't want to risk it, so I'm going to go to Zapdos, eat a crit, but eh. And now I'm going to Drill Peck as he thinks Blissey's still safe, and it goes down. So that was harder than it had to be, but at least it worked out. So now I make another fucking dumb move. I see my leftovers go first, and I assume I'll be faster when I didn't need to risk it at all. I should have just gone to... I mean, if he doubles, he doubles. I don't know. I guess it wasn't that risky insofar as he's not just going to flail attacking into Blissey, and he could have something nasty in the back. Like, this is almost definitely going to be a physical attacker that threatens Blissey, so I could have covered that and kept momentum with Breloom. So, in retrospect, I guess it's a little harsh to call it fucking dumb, but yeah. So he just goes for Calm Mind, and I assume this is the part where he tries to muscle through Blissey with Super Rachi, which it can do sometimes at high health if the Blissey doesn't have T-Wave, but I do. So I get 2 Soft Boiled, he gets 3 layers, I Seismic Toss, bring him down. Now he is in Sky Uppercut range, and Jirachi comes in. I'm going to save it just because Mach Punch is great against DD Tar, and it's one of the reasons I can use Metagross here, because I can just Mach it in case DD Tar gets out of hand. So, same deal. Go to Zapdos, Pressure, HP Grass, make Zapdos such a threat, and turns out Swampert sleeping is good after all. So, Zapdos takes him out. Decided to not risk anything. He's going for Ice Punch, Freeze, and winning the tie. And he reveals Dugtrio, so he's got some great synergy on this team. And luckily, I have Counter instead of... I mean, Ice Beam would have also been fine because he took 3 layers, but it gives me the health to survive the Jirachi afterwards. Turns out he's all coverage Super Rachi, which is also a good set. It's Fire Punch, Ice Punch, HP Grass. They just hit everything super effectively rather than use Psychic's general coverage. Good for Salamence. So, and Blissey's going to win, although with fast T-Wave Zapdos and bulky, healthy EQ Metagross, then it was fine. So, that's game number 3 down. So, number 4 versus Teclis. This is CB Mence and a more defensive team. So, Mence versus Tar. I go to Magneton on the first turn because if there's a Skarmory, that's the safest move. And versus Zapdos, I'm afraid of Dugtrio. And so I decide to go to my Tyranitar because if he goes to Celebi, then I have a good matchup there. If he Baton Passes, that's fine because I'll live Dugtrio at full health and kill it back. And yeah, it's also good against stuff like Snorlax. So, when possible, get Tyranitar in and do a lot of damage. And since he comes in on special tanks and Magneton draws those Pokemon in, then I thought it was fine there. So he goes to his own Tyranitar. He HP Grasses looking to catch a Swampert switch, so I play it safe. He plays it more aggressive. I know even if he's a mix Tar, I'd need Spikes to make things hit as hard as possible, and mainly Mence, and so I'm exerting pressure on him. So I think that was worth it, and he makes a good move and gets his Cloyster in on my Blissey, and it's at this point I'm pining for my Thunderbolt Blissey from a couple games ago. I go to Magneton and make a fucking stupid move by not Thunder Waving. I thought maybe he'll... As soon as I saw Cloyster, I'm like, alright, it's probably double electric with Swampert and Metagross last, and he's hesitant to go to Swampert because I could have HP Grass on Mag. And I should have Thunderbolted. I really should have. I was just afraid of the Lum Tyranitar coming in. But I also should have thought, oh, what if... He doesn't know that my Magneton isn't timid, and he won't just die to 2 Thunderbolts with spikes. So that was really dumb of me. And now, instead of potentially having a huge advantage, I have to get my Magneton T-Waved when it could potentially be very useful. So that upset me. Luckily, he roars, I try to just chip it down, and he brings in my Mence, and I decide to go to Tyranitar here, because I thought he might go to Zapdos on Earthquake, and I didn't want to break a Rock Slide and potentially lose Mence for nothing, so by going... He's either going to sack Jolt or go to Zapdos for sure. He's not going to let his Swampert take the full brunt of a Banded Earthquake with spikes down, because it's an offensive Swampert. So I thought this was the safer move. And now he still can't switch into Earthquake with spikes down, so I'm going to take this out. So same product, but less risk. So here comes the Swampert. And it's offensive. And here's where my pre-game planning both worked and didn't. It worked in that I can take 2 Hydros with spikes. This was inspired by Asta's SpDef Swampert that he uses sometimes, but I got paranoid of opposing Salamence, mainly Band, and I put too much defense EVs. I knew I was going to use Bold with SpDef, a lot of SpDef, but I didn't use enough. And I figured it'll be enough without spikes, because most offensive Swampert teams don't have spikes, but he has spikes, so it kind of threw a wrench in that. But I should have had more SpDef regardless. However, it means I can Toxic him safely without having to protect, and that is huge because now it's all about Mence taking one every time it comes in. So now he makes a good move there, and arguably I could have even gotten to Skarmory there because now I get lucky with a Hydro Miss there. I don't want to get into, oh, he hit 2, so he missed the 3rd, and that's fair. You know, it's still lucky. And I also had to hit Toxic. I don't know. Who knows? Lots of variants, but I was just going to protect around, and this wouldn't be such a big deal if I hadn't got my Magneton T-Wave like a goddamn idiot. So here's where I make another fucking bonehead move. I assumed he was going to spin or spike again, but he just surfs, trying to bring my Skarmory down like a fucking course he would. So I get my Magneton lower, so I can't even trap a potential Band Gross later, and I take more damage on my Skarmory too, so my head's just not in it. I mean, I'm mixing good moves with Mence and Tar with not so good moves with my other guys, and I drag in this, and I decide I'm going to sack Swampert because it's at low health. And I wanted to, and it potentially would have had huge payoff if I had gone to Mence on the Fire Blast, because its health isn't really that important. It's bulky too, so it wouldn't have minded. And even with Sand, then it's not going to take a hit until it dies, most likely. And by being able to save a sack for later, that could have potentially been huge. But yeah, I don't know. I think it was smart to not do it because he very clearly could have Ice Beamed there, and arguably even should have, because either Skarmory stays in and takes even more health and then Metagross rails it, or he sacks Swampert, or he tries to get cute and switches to Salamence. So I don't regret not doing that, I guess. Although, you know, yeah, so I just Brick Break, play it safe. He's going to go to Cloyster and let it go. It's his least useful. And Zapdos coming in. So he Thunderbolts, and that does 15%, which might not seem like much. Or it might not seem like an important calc, but it's very important because it shows that he is 0 special attack Zapdos. And on an offensive team like this, it means he's running a mix set. So I calc, and I know I can live 2 max attack HP fightings with 1 spike down, but it's going to be close, so I'm not going to be caught off guard by it later. So Metagross comes in. It's going to be either Mix or Band, because this kind of team cannot let up the pressure on Skarmory, and I'm just thankful it's not Agility. I mean, his team couldn't really afford it, I don't think, but yeah. So I go to Magneton, and he reveals Band damage as he kills it from 25, and just imagine if I didn't throw away both my Skarmory and my Magneton's health. Luckily, Salamence is still here to get the job done. So I have to now predict which one he's going to go to. If he goes to Zapdos, I mean, it's still not over. I can make good moves, but I don't think he's sacrificing the Zapdos. It's too crucial, and I think he also expects to be able to 2-hit KO Blissey with the Spike, so he's going to let the Tar go, so I'm playing it safe with Earthquake, and I feel that if I just keep playing it safe, then eventually I'm going to give him the chance to get in his own head. You know, he's going to go, oh, well, he's been playing it safe this whole time. It's not an exact science, this kind of thing. You could definitely look at it different ways, but that was the way I was approaching it. So, I avoid the 2-hit KO, so I soft boil up, and I dodge a Meteor Mash, so getting lucky there. But I also go for a Drill Peck here. Not the smartest move. Well, actually, no, I think it was fine. I don't know. Well, it means the Meteor Mash doesn't actually end up mattering, but I was thinking, well, I want to Drill Peck the Zapdos if it comes in, because it's going to be minus defense, and then that means he actually can't switch into, like, HP Flying later on. So, I don't know, it was just... I wanted to push more damage on the Metagross mainly, so that he can't switch in as much, and I can potentially beat him down with my Ments. I felt it more useful than roaring into Zapdos and having the same exact scenario come up and not doing anything besides the 12%. So I guess Roar was another move, so not playing perfectly at all. And roaring in Swampert also would have been great. So Roar was probably the move, and I decided Protect just to waste PP just in case. Bold Blissey can live a mash, even with Spike, although that's a roll, but from full it can live a mash, and I'm thinking I might just have to do that. And my Ments is a lot of SpDef investment, so I can live from 0 special attack Zapdos T-Bolt. And here I go with the timer down, both our timers are down, and I just stay in an Earthquake and he's thinking, no way, you know, he doesn't want to risk the Zapdos, he doesn't want to let Swampert go. I mean, most people would say he probably should have let Swampert go. But, and, you know, I can't disagree, but for that reason, then Earthquake was also the best move for me. So, I don't know if it was the best move. You could say you need a Rock Slide, what if Zapdos comes in, yada yada, you'll have to sack, but that's exactly why I wanted to go for Earthquake. So, it's not perfect logic or anything. You could argue that that's exactly why I should have gone for the Rock Slide, but that's why you try to avoid prediction games. And yeah, so no choice but to go to Blissey, who's just barely hanging on against HP Fighting, and you know, just hoping I don't get crit. But she is going to out heal it. And luckily, since the Zapdos has no bulk, then I'm just going to Ice Beam it, and it'll die with Sand. And Swampert comes in, and I decide to play it safe because offensive Swampert usually doesn't run a ton of bulk. But I don't want to have something stupid happen, like HP Fly, it doesn't KO, and then it Torrent Pumps me. So there's no way he's not just going to go for the Ice Beam, hoping for that scenario to happen, so I get some extra poison damage on him by switching to Tar. And if he... And for a second, I really thought about going back to Ments just to be safe, and then I realized if you lost because of that, that would be unforgivable. But if you lose because HP Flying doesn't KO, then that's a lot better, because there's nothing you can really do about that. So you can't really expect that. And he tries to Ice Beam Ments, so thank God I didn't do that like a normal person. And yeah, so it turns out his Pert was actually a spread of mine with a ton of defense EVs. So yeah, versus Altina, I'm running a Starmie offense team, and I think it's really strong. And I know Altina is a good player, so I was not fearful, but I was not going to take him lightly. Anyway, so Zap versus Tar, gotta get out of there. Go to Celebi just to see what kind of Tar it is. He's not banned, so I'm going to BP out and go to Swampert, but it's fine because I didn't eat a CB Focus Punch on the first turn. So I double back to Zapdos because if he has HP Grass, unlikely on most Focus Punch Tars, but 4 attack Focus Punch Tars, and he has a lot of attack investment. So it's probably that set, so I didn't want to take that, but more importantly, I wanted to get the advantage over Skarmory. And Venusaur comes in, and Venusaur is insanely annoying, so I just have to Thunder Wave it. And he is actually afraid of Drill Peck, so he goes to Swampert, but Swampert's not staying in, so I decide I'm going to T-Wave that Venusaur on the switch, and I'll get a hit off on it. And I end up catching a Jolteon on the switch, looking to absorb HP Grass. So that really works out nicely, because now I don't have to trade Thunder Waves. And I can Baton Pass out, go to Dugtrio. He makes the right move in Baton Passing himself, using the Slow Pass while fearing my switch, while I feared his Thunder Wave. So good move on his end, but even if I had gone to Celebi, then I still would have had to switch out of the Scarm. Although I do reveal that I have a Doug now. But yeah, so back to Zapdos, and now he's going to the Venusaur, and I Thunder Wave that too. So my goal here is to bring the Venusaur down, because I'm trying to sweep with Starmie, and T-Waving that Jolteon is huge for Starmie. But what I also want to do is burn Sleep Turns on the Venusaur, so I can wake up and use my Zapdos later. So that's one turn, so I'll try to do it again later. This is a very Spadef Celebi, so I'll just absorb it all day long, and in comes Moltres, and this is really scary, because Moltres threatens everything with Fire Blast, HP Grass, and Will-O-Wisp, but I think he's just going to go for the straight-ahead move. No sense, Will-O-Wisping on Zapdos or Swampert or something. Just spikes her down, go for the Fire Blast, and that's why I felt Tyranitar was fine. And I want to preserve Starmie's health. So I am going to Focus Punch because he's not risking the Moltres. It's very clearly a huge threat. And I pummel Skarmory down. So that's also good for Starmie, and I also hit Swampert, so that's also good for Starmie. So everything's really chipped, and Tar eats it at full health, so I gotta be careful about that, but I've also got a Dugtrio, so I decide no dicking around. Celebi absorbs Swampert, scares it out, momentum with Baton Pass, in comes Starmie, and I'm also not gonna dick around. I'm going for the straight Hydro Pump, and I managed to catch Jolteon looking to absorb a T-Bolt. So, he's an Ice Beam range, thank goodness for that. And now I'm not going to dick around here either. Para and crit and whatever. So, play it safe with Celebi because I can afford to. Even if Moltres comes in, I can... Whoops. Yeah, I can just recover and go to Tar again. And at this point, it's just a matter... I have more sacrifices than he does, so Starmie is going to go in every time, but I managed to not have to do that yet because Tar doesn't get HP Grass in the switch. He's not going to risk the Moltres again. I Focus Punch, and I get lucky because I crit kill the Swampert. My plan was to go to Celebi after and Baton Pass, so it's a matter of does he go back to Moltres, does he just attack, do I stay in an attack? I wasn't going to, but he has to consider that, especially considering he would have been at quite low health. And the second Focus Punch would have been nice because then Starmie was definitely going to kill the Pert. There's no chance of any silly shenanigans there. So, I'm trying to Leech Seed the Tyranitar or the Moltres on the switch. My Celebi is very Spadef, so it can live a Moltres Fire Blast. So, sorry, I skipped over that. So I end up Psychicking as he decides to Leech Seed, trying to catch Zapdos, trying to wake up on Venusaur, who's somewhat hapless. So now we're just playing more Leech Seed games, and I eventually get it, but I miss, but no big deal. At this point, Venusaur's down. I'm going to sacrifice the Celebi, and since Swampert is also down, and I get the Slow Pass out, so now I even have a sack, and, no, I don't Slow Pass out. Sorry, that was stupid. Psyche was definitely the move, because now I don't have to risk Thunderbolt, or I can Thunderbolt Moltres. I don't have to risk Hydro Pump. And, yeah, if Tar comes into Thunderbolt, he's going to die. So I just get a free one there. And this move seems weird, but basically I wanted to try and wake up Zapdos because Venusaur is so low. I wanted to try to wake it up just because I can, so I can maybe get that damage on it with my with Zapdos, so then Starmie can clean it up or Dugtrio can finish it off. Because I wasn't very comfortable sacrificing against the Tar when it came in to survive the Hydro from Starmie. So I figured it was better that Starmie, that I try to wake up Zapdos because it's timid so it will outrun Moltres. So I figured that was better. So now he's going to go to the Tar, but I have the extra weapon against Moltres, just in case. I was trying to play it as safe as possible. So Rock Slide, I am defensive, but I have Hydro Pump so I can respond to Tar while also hurting the Scarm. He tries to Whirlwind, doesn't happen, so now I'm going to sack the Swampert, apparently. Okay, so yeah, I thought I would sack the Scarm and just go for more Hydro stuff. Just to keep... But I know he's 4 attack, so I won't be getting swept by DD, so I decide to play it even more safe, not having to risk Hydro. And so Swampert goes down, Venusaur comes in, I get more lefties by virtue of missing Rock Slide, so I got lucky there too, although at this point he's going to have to get really lucky to win this game anyway, so yeah, it was just a matter of Doug and Zapdos and me were going to clean up regardless, barring extraordinary circumstances, so yeah, cool, so that's that. So moving on, CyberOdin, good player. I'm using a standard team here because you cannot force being creative every week. That is actually counterintuitive. If it's not coming to you, it's not. So, but I made some changes like my beloved Wish Blissey. So, out of Metagross, I see it doesn't have much attack investment, so likelihood of Skarmory low. So it's going to be a Mixed Gross. So again, I'm going to eat that hit. I'm going to get the Spike. The Spike is going to go a long way. And I'm going to eat it, roar out into Arrow. Perfect. Protect, Rock Slide, easy response with Swampert. And I Surf. I probably should have Toxic'd. I get a little bit of a lucky crit there. I felt Snorlax was likelier, or Zapdos, but Surf doesn't do anything to Snorlax, and I could have just responded with Gar and Scarm and Tar, and the upsides of Toxic were bigger, so I should have done that. So I decide to go to Tar just to immediately put offensive pressure on him, but I end up taking a Giga Drain, so that might have been a mistake, although I'm not sure. And now I'm not sure, like, is he gonna fear HP Bug or not? Because I wanted Earthquake, but I don't. I just HP Bug. So now I gotta go to Swampert, and I know I'm risking it, but I know he also doesn't want to boom immediately, so I can get damage on him with Surf. And I get another lucky crit with Surf. But he returns the favor with crit as I go to Scarm after I heal some Protect. I just want to bring this Metagross into Starmie range, and now I don't want to sack my Starmie, but my Scarm, maybe I should have kept Starmie at full health. I just figured with Arrow, very low chance of Dugtrio. But yeah, the Psychic crit means that he can freely Psychic to hit my Starmie switch instead of HP firing, and as a result I am in Dugtrio range, and I see now he's running an Asta team, so I'm pretty sure it's Pert and Tar last offensive variants. So at least now I go to Gengar and I have a very free Will-O-Wisp because Celebi's going to get clocked by Ice Punch, and he goes to Arrow and Wisp misses, and that just shattered my heart because that Arrow was just as good as dead. And now I dodge Rock Slide, so at least there's that, but the Arrow is still a threat. Not to mention the Tar, and I Toxic and I miss that, and that also really bites because I can get really annoying with Giga Drain now, but Blissey's still going to beat it, and I'm staying healthy because I'm bold, so it's tough for Dugtrio to take me out, and I will respond with an Ice Beam that will take him out. So I'm soft boiling, Psychic, even crit doesn't KO there, and now I'm going to take it out, and he crits as I KO him, so worst turn for that to happen. So that was a pretty lame sequence. So now I get another Wisp with Gengar, and I burn the Arrow finally. But I make another mistake here by going to Swampert and letting it get chipped instead of just staying in with the Gar. The bulk is not... It's a Spadef fast Gar. I should have just Thunderbolted it and taken it out, and instead I get my Swampert chipped by something that really shouldn't have chipped it. So now it's very clearly an Endeavor Swampert by the lack of leftover, so he's going to be Salic. So he's going to sub, very clearly the obligatory first move. And I think about this one for a while, and I figured, alright, he's going to attack as I knock him into Torrent. So even if he subs, he can't... I can still protect around and make it work. So he Hydros, and I managed to Toxic him, so thank goodness for that. So now I have a very free Protect, because... I mean, it's not free, but I gotta... I gotta heal up the Swampert because it's at lower health than it should have been. His Hydros are just connecting left and right. And I figuring the last is that Tar, so I'm protecting, and rather than risking a double protect, I decided to sack my own Tar. and I go to Gengar. And that was probably a fucking dumb move. I should have gone to Swampert because I figured it was that. I figured it was that or Mence, but Tar was likelier. I should have gone to Swampert, gotten the extra lefties. And here, it's not over yet, but if I go to Swampert, I know it's a DD grass set. Almost surely he needs that pressure on both sides of the spectrum. But if I go to Pert on HP grass, then I lose. But if I Wisp twice as he HP grasses because he's going to be Lum, then I'm fine. But, And in retrospect, I should have gone to Pert. He's going to just Dragon Dance. He's going to be safe. He's even going to be plus speed. He figured he was going to take out Pert with HP Grass. I don't know. There was no right move there, but I definitely messed up that game, and it really angers me. I mean, the sequence where Arrow dodge Wisp into Toxic dodge into perfectly timed crit also really bugged me. But I don't know. I was really upset at myself for this game, as well as the game for just being infuriating sometimes. So, next up versus Marcop, who is a very scary guy to face because he can run anything and he can run it well. And by anything, I mean the wildest stuff you can think of. Like earlier this SPL, he ran a triple normal team with one of those normals being slacking. And there was a Heracross next to it, so very high octane shit. So I'm running a team without Tyranitar. It's more Scar Mag stuff with CB Mence the Great and Wish Bliss the Great, but it's also got Moltres because it overlaps on physical defense. It's got Wisp. It's a threat and a half on its own. It's wonderful. So, Mence versus Tar, I was thinking, I wanted to be on the safe side against Marcop, so rather than go to my turn 1 Magneton switch, just in case, I'm going to Brick Break, just in case he decided to get cute. And he does reveal a Skarmory, which makes me think, wow, way to doubt the move. So, but this time I'm going to say, alright, I'm going to make up for it by Brick Breaking again, because if there's a Doug or a Mag, then it's almost surely going to come in there. And instead I catch Moltres. So, it's Moltres Spikes, that's cool. And that would have caught my Skarm or my Mag for momentum if I don't have a good Moltres answer. Luckily I do, because Blissey is nuts. So, he goes to his own Blissey on Magneton, or on Blissey as I Seismic Toss, and he throws up a very early game Wish. And as I go to my Skarmory and Spike up, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? Alright, now he's going to go to his Skarm to match my Spikes, but instead he's just intent on Seismic Tossing my Skarm down. I'm thinking, well, now I feel like a fucking idiot because I just got damage on my Magneton for nothing. I don't know if the damage is going to matter, but now he knows I have Skarm. But then again, either he's going to get Spikes and die, or he's not going to get Spikes if he switches out as I try to mag him later. So I guess it's not all that bad. So it's very likely that there's not a Dugtrio there, so not worried about that. So go to Blissey, decide to just toss as Skarm comes in, or I don't know what's going on if he goes to Tar, but he's just intent on staying in with Blissey. So I Wish up. Blissey's at full health, so he's fine. I decide to get some health back on Magneton. And if he goes to Skarm, then I will finally get it there. But now I decide he's just staying in. Alright, I'm going to get my second and my third layer. And at this point, I'm starting to think he might be running some sort of Superman team where he has a bunch of Pokemon immune to flying. But even if he is, then Tar and Blissey are affected by Spikes, and those are big Pokemon to hit with 25%, so I'm going to take it. I protect there because I was at less than 100 HP, so I wanted to live the toss. He just keeps wishing. He's burning a lot of wishes early, so that could be good down the stretch for sure, and I'm going to do the same with mine. I have more wishes than him, but mine are being more useful. As I get Magneton back up to full, I keep thinking he's got to go to Skarm at some point, right? He's being careful about it, so I go back to Bliss, I heal up, I go to my Metagross, as he Ice Beams. So now I'm thinking, alright, is he going to try and catch Mag again? Or I'm going to with Moltres, so I'm going to Toxic, because like that other team I ran, the Breloom Zapdos one, then Offensive Swampert is dangerous, and that is why I have Toxic on my Metagross. So I wanted to go to I have Meteor Mash on this Gross. I wanted to go to Mag so bad, but I figured, and I should have, I really should have, but, one layer, no big deal. I can handle a layer. It just would have been nice to not have to deal with it. So, Moltres is in, and Moltres with the spike down is scary because he roars out Blissey. However, it's not all bad because I have Protect on Skarmory, so I can... Well, he goes right for the Fire Blast, doesn't want to risk dying to Magneton, that would be stupid. So there's one PP, he's not running Flamethrower. And he doesn't automatically... Even if he was Flamethrower, then even dragging out Metagross isn't necessarily like the end of the world. He can also, in addition to dragging out Blissey, he can drag out Mence, who he has to run from. And I have 3 layers of spikes, and a Pokemon that doesn't have any flying counters after Skarmory goes down. So I managed to protect on another Fire Blast, and he roars, and I also have my own Moltres, who not only takes his attacks nicely and doesn't get hit by spikes, but even pressure stalls Fire Blast, so... And since he's already taken the hit earlier, then I have an advantage, so I decide to roar. As Blissey comes in, I get a nice 25% there, and he reveals Flygon, so he is going some Superman stuff. Some modern Superman stuff. So I decide, alright, that's bulky Flygon, Skarmory can handle it, and I'm going to take the Rock Slide. I'm going to Protect just to be safe, and I'm not going to dick around. I want it. Flygon is actually very threatening when you run Metagross over Swampert. I mean, I'm still probably okay because Wish Bliss and Skarm and Mence, but definitely something to watch out for. I might even have to burn it with Moltres because it's bulky gone, so it's going to be slower in all likelihood. But I decided to keep up the pressure on this. Don't let him heal back up to full. Go back to Metagross, who can Meteor Mash fairly safely now, since bringing down Moltres' health is hella useful. And arguably Toxic might have been okay. I just wasn't sure what he had. Wasn't sure if... I don't know. Just Meteor Mash felt a lot safer. And more offensive. So I Meteor Mash to get a nice attack raise, and I'm not going to switch out of this because I can take out the Flygon, and that's really, really useful considering how potentially annoying it can be. So I mash again, he protects, reveals defensive, I get another attack boost, although I'm probably going to have to switch out after he goes for Fire Blast here, or Will-O-Wisp, or Roar, or whatever. I just wanted to Protect, and he doesn't think I had Protect, and as he tries to double with Moltres, so that works out. And now I decide, even if it's banded, I'm taking this hit. This last is also going to be a Spike immune. I can take this banded Earthquake fine. I have enough to handle whatever his last might be, and if Tar goes down, then Moltres is also scary. Everyone likes it. Blissey loves that, and he ends up going to Flygon, and it goes down. So he had to sack something to that, so it was worth it. So thank goodness for my attack boost, although I think just the first one would have been fine, or even just nailing the Toxic on it. But yeah, so Metagross is nice. I get Blissey in, I heal on Molt as he goes to Tar, and I decide I'm going to sack the Mag, and it's also a nice move, because if he Earthquakes, that's fine, and I go to my Mence and I trash something. But he doesn't want to give Skarmory the free switch, right? So Rock Slide is fair, and now Magneton gets to come in and force in Blissey, so I get a very risk-free double switch to Metagross as he is forced to go to Blissey, and I get off another mash, don't miss. And yeah, so he reveals Zapdos last. It's an old linear team, and I get Toxic off on it. Figured I could be safe, but I don't want to risk any T-Bolt crit stuff or Drill Peck's crit stuff, and I'd rather just risk... This thing is a lot less valuable than... You know, can't be afraid of the low odds. You know, if I'm afraid of him critting Blissey, I may as well be afraid of him critting Gross. You know, can't be so terrified of those low odds. Maybe I could have sacked Magneton. Felt it was fine to Toxic it just to really nail it down. And Mence is still such a threat because if he's mixed Zapdos, and then he's dying to Mence anyway. So, Skarmory sack is fine. And now Blissey comes in and it's back to Gross. And the game is pretty much settled because Toxic, and he can't stall it out. So, that one works. So, moving on, Zomog. Good player, made his name for himself in advance. This season, I'm using one of my favorite teams. It is Kingdra, it is offense, it is awesome. So, he has this game on his YouTube channel. So, Zapdos versus Tar, BP out, go to Gross. He reveals Ice Beam. Special Tar, possible. but more likely he's going to switch out. He doesn't know what kind of gross I am. He might see I have bulk, but still probably not worth losing his T-Tar in the first turn, especially when he doesn't know my team. So I'm going to go to Zapdos. I get a Swampert. I get to scare that out. I get to keep momentum with Baton Pass. I go to Dugtrio on Celebi. That's what this team does. And I'm not going to kill it, even though I'm adamant, but he is slower and he goes to Tar, and I figured, alright, I'm not quite sure. I want to find out what kind of Tar this set is, because he's not just going to go for a safe Ice Beam. If he's mixed set, he's going to Fire Blast, or he might try to Pursue. And HP Bug damage is nice, because it helps out Zapdos and Kingdra quite a bit. So I reveal, and I can live 2 of these, because I have a ton of bulk on the Dug. So I Pursue, so I live Pursuit, and I live Pursuit on the Switch. And then I go back to Gross, and then it's the same move as I go back to Zapdos, scaring out the thing. And I figure, is he behind enough to where he's gonna just give it up? Maybe he doesn't even have enough of a switch, but he goes to Arrow, scares me out. I'm going back to Gross, he goes back to Perk. Good move. Going to Celebi, so because Celebi is awesome, because it's SWAT Swampert. So I BP out, that's what this team does. As he's scared out, I finish off the Celebi with Doug. Zapdos and Kingdra love it. So he's gonna pursue me with Tar. Whoops, sorry, skipped. Pursue me with Tar, but I get even more damage on it, so everything is scary. I go to Zapdos, I HP Grass as he goes to Magneton, and suddenly things are starting to make sense, as that last is almost surely Metagross or Salamence. And I HP Grass just in case. I know it's weaker against Tyranitar, but I figured just in case he decides to go Swampert or something, but that was silly of me. But I decide he's definitely not letting Celebi come in for free. And the upside of Thunder Waving, I mean, if I T-Wave on HP Fire, that's great. Thunderbolt also would have been fine, but I just wanted to limit the amount of outplaying stuff he can do, because there's very little way he just plays it straight at this point. Because then he would just definitely lose. So I T-Wave and he subs up, so I'm like, alright, I'll go to Celebi. And I get T-Waved, and I should have just... No, I think HP Fire there was fine, because at this point I'm thinking Kingdra has to absolutely trash him, so I can play it safe. And I'm just gonna avoid the crunch by going to Zap, and I probably... I don't know, I should have probably gone to Metagross, but it's fine. And I Baton Pass, he stays in. I should have just attacked. I don't know why the hell I didn't. I think I was afraid of the roll, but that's why I should have switched to it in the first place. So Metagross coming in, nothing really like switching in. Earthquake, now he's offensive Swampert, I'm fine. Celebi still scares him out, it's bulky. And I get to Leech Seed on the switch. So Metagross comes in, he really can't switch into Celebi well either. So now I get to go to my Gengar on an unrevealed explosion. Sorry, not yet. He switches out. He was assuming I was some standard Baton Pass Giga Drain Calm Mindset, but I have Leech Seed instead. So Kingdra comes in, and now free Hydro, and shit's gonna die. So Metagross comes in, he's forced to explode, and I go to Gengar. Some people were saying I should have gone to Zapdos because Gengar is safer against Arrow nonsense, but I don't know. At this point I was thinking, how can I make it safest for Kingdra to sweep, and I wanted extra damage on Tar. And yeah, I wanted, if I can get damage on Tar with my Gengar, with my Zapdos still alive, that's preferable. So I go to this. At this point I should have just Hydroed. I should have just played it safe. But I don't know, I just wanted to Rain Dance, force Death, and then force it to repeat. Hydro was definitely safer because I have HP Grass, so I can kill Swampert. So, I don't know, my inexperience with Kingdra was definitely showing. I was thinking about it, and I just wanted to be safe. Because I know there's a chance that it's sub-arrow, but even if it is sub-arrow and I get unlucky, I should still be okay. So I decide, no dicking around, I'm just going to HP Grass, I'm going to bring it down. No Hydro miss, and then I can't kill it with Zapdos Thunderbolt, and Metagross gets worn down or something nonsense. I wanted to be as safe as possible, because again, even if it is sub-arrow, I am fine. So, he double edges, he subs, and I Meteor Mash, so even if I miss Mash, I have a lot of defense EVs, and I have Protect. So even if I miss this second Mash, then I Protect, I Sag Zapdos, I go back to Gross, I Protect again, and then I Explode to make sure I hit the sub, and then he has to flinch my Celebi, who also has a lot of defense EVs. So, I mean, even with the Mash missing, then I still was fine. And if I missed on the first one, then, you know, Earthquake is doing absolutely nothing, so I was still confident it was fine. But he ends up critting, and that was a bad feeling. Yeah, I did not care for that. You know, I realized I could have made a couple different moves, but I felt the early game I did very well. And it just felt lame to, because whole reason I meteor mashed instead of booming was because in case it was sub, so I felt I played that one pretty well, and it shouldn't have ended like that, and I don't know, it felt lame, because even with it wasn't like you need one mash miss to win. It was a conglomeration of ridiculous stuff. So but that's the game, right? So at least Kingdra is amazing. And yeah, so last game versus CALLOUS, I'm running some more Scar Mag with Band Ments and Wish Bliss, because go figure, I like them quite a bit. And this time I've got a Claydol and a Suicune running around. So versus CALLOUS, my first Suicune, and I run into a Zapdos lead. How fun is that? But I'm just going to go for the Seismic Toss, figure out what kind of team he's got. Is he offense? He goes to Celebi. Is he some pass stuff? That's why I go to Salamence to immediately threaten it. But he baton passes immediately, so I'm thinking no Calm Mind. Maybe he's just some trap stuff. Especially because Seismic Toss is doing 25%, which is the mark of 101 HP. And most Calm Mind pass stuff is not going to have max HP Celebi. It could, but something to keep in mind. So luckily, I force Leech Seed there, force Recover, and then I go to my Band Ments and put him on the defensive with a big HP Flying, and I get a nice crit on Swampert, so that sucks for him a lot. But, you know, what can you do? I decide to just keep it going. No reason not to take advantage of it. It's the competitive move, so you know, if I'm going to get a lot of HP Flying attempts on Celebi, then I'm going to beat Swampert down anyway, especially if I get the Spike up. So I'm playing it safe. He goes to Swampert, he goes to Swampert on Blissey to try to get some health. So, and I go to Scarm, and that means that, I mean, I only get the one layer because I'm physically defensive, but he is still not going to be able to switch into Ments. He's not going to be able to get free lefties off of switches, so Ment's still a massive threat because it's going to come in on Celebi, and his Celebi has to come in a lot because it comes in, it seems to be his best switch into Blissey. So, yeah, there's that. He's also showing Leech Seed, so definitely some trap stuff. Definitely a Doug, but I'm not afraid because I'm bold and I have Ice Beam and Spikes are up, so I'll be killing Dougs. And yeah, I go for a straight ahead Brick Break against Magneton. No sense dicking around. It's not a threat at all, and it would be stupid to lose Ments for it. So Suicune to burn Leech Seed PP, back to Ments, and also Roar if he subs or something, but back to Ments to keep up the offensive assault. I get lucky again with a dodge Leech Seed, and I'm just going to HP Fly. He scouts it with Recover because Celebi is bulky, but I'm still going to be able to hit Zapdos really hard. And that Zapdos has not just HP, but even some defense investment, so here comes Lax. Lax is admittedly one of the few things that's really annoying to this team. So what I usually do is check it with Magneton, but I don't. I don't know what I was afraid of. It's very clearly a Curse Lax on a double trap team. And it's not even going to be Earthquake because he doesn't have Pursuit. So I should have just gone to Magneton and Magnet T-bolted him down like I should normally do. Hell, even going to Suicune and Roaring right away would have been better. But Magneton, force some rest, and then go for, and then pound him with Ments repeatedly. So that would have been better. Instead I Seismic Toss for minimal damage. Should have just gone to this. And now he's running the rarer Return, which will 2 KO me despite the bulk EVs I have on Mag. So I'm going to have to take that, go down, and that was a mistake. So luckily Ments is still putting in between a rock and a hard place, because no matter what his spread is, you can never know Snorlax EVs, but no matter what his spread is, then I have a chance to KO here. And even if he rests, then fine. He'll have to switch out, and from there, I'll be good to go. So, yeah, definitely felt... And I could even phase it if the roll wasn't too kind. But now he decides to just attack me and doesn't take me out, and Snorlax is dead to Spike. So from here, I feel it's just a matter of stalling out the PP, and I'm going to call mine just to burn a turn. And now I'm going to go back to Blissey, Force Wishes. I can't quite Wish to Ments because he can Psychic. but it's just a matter of switching between Celebi or Suicune and Blissey on Celebi, going to this, hopefully not getting bullshitted by Dugtrio when he eventually tries to trap the Bliss, and just wearing down his Leech Seed PP, which goes down quickly because of pressure. So, and also poking down the Zapdos so that Suicune can threaten it, but he's just going to keep BPing for lefties, but you know, he can't do it forever, so just yeah, he's going to try to hope I sack my Ments, but nothing doing. Switching back and forth, yada yada. Snorlax goes down, he spikes sacks, so, and brings in Doug, and he needed crit or full para, or yeah, so, or two consecutive full paras, pretty much. I mean, Zapdos would have been threatening, but I have a Claydol last, which can threaten him back. Although that still could have been not fun at all. But yeah, that would have, that's what could have happened. So, I go to this, yada yada, just can't really hurt me at this point. So, it's just a matter of time, and I'm just wearing him down, yada yada. I go to Claydol, I have Speedy V's on it, and he's a very slow Celebi. So I get to show off fast freeing from Leech. That was cool. But yeah, it's just a matter of time before the game is over. I went to Claydol there to dodge a T-Bolt, waste a T-Bolt or T-Wave. But he's almost out of Leech Seeds. Yeah, he's at 5, so that's 3 with pressure. So, yeah, and Zapdos is getting worn down, and he decides to call it there. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it taught you something. I'll leave the link to the thread in the description. Hope you enjoyed all that stuff. So, thank you for watching. I hope I wasn't too far up my own ass for this. And, yeah, I hope you took something away from it. So, I will catch you guys next time.